Welcome back to the deep dive. We are jumping straight into a scenario today that I absolutely guarantee every single person listening has experienced.
Oh, for sure.
It's Monday morning, maybe
Correct.
8:55 a.m. You've got your coffee, you're ready to crush the week. You sit down to log into your email or that one Critical Sauce app, and you hit a brick wall.
The dreaded red text.
Invalid credentials. You type it again, slower this time. Maybe you capitalize the first letter. Nope, locked out.
And just like that, you can't work.
You can't work. And what's the next step? You pick up the phone and you call IT.
Which is exactly what the IT admin, who's probably trying to, put out a server fire or migrate a database, absolutely dreads on a Monday morning.
Exactly. It's a lose-lose. You're frustrated, the admin is distracted, and the company is losing money every minute you sit there just staring at that login screen.
Right.
So today, we are solving this. We are diving into a whole stack of documentation from Microsoft Learn About, Microsoft Entra Self-Service Password Reset.
Or SSPR for short. It's basically the how-to manual for taking that power away from the busy IT admin and, well, giving it back to the user.
Right, but we aren't just going to read the settings menu to you. We're going to unpack the strategy.
The why behind it.
Yeah, why do you set it up a certain way? Why shouldn't you just flip the switch for everyone on day one? And, maybe most importantly, how do you make the login screen look professional enough that your users don't think they're being phished?
That trust piece is huge. If we do this right, we're building a system where users can rescue themselves. But if we do it wrong, we're kind of creating a security nightmare.
So let's get into it. I'm looking at this from the perspective of an IT administrator. I've got the documentation in front of me. I'm ready to solve this headache. Can I just log in and turn on self-service password reset?
I wish. I wish it were that simple. Before you even touch the on switch, we have to talk about the price of admission. This is sort of the first barrier to entry.
Ah, the fine print.
Always the fine print. SSPR isn't available for everyone. If you're on a free tier of Microsoft Entra ID or using a pay-as-you-go model, this feature is just grayed out.
So you need a paid subscription.
A paid subscription, yeah. Specifically, we're talking about Microsoft Entra ID P1 or P2 licenses.
Okay, so step one, check your wallet. Step two, check your badge.
Right. You can't just be a regular user to set this up. You need a specific role. The source material highlights the Authentication Policy Administrator role.
Not a global admin.
Well, a global admin can do it too, of course, but we always want to use the principle of least privilege. So if you're the off-policy admin, you're the one driving the bus here.
Okay, well, let's assume we have the license and the badge. We're in the portal. We navigate to Microsoft Entra ID, Manage, Password Reset. And I'm looking at a screenshot here, and there's this big, really tempting toggle that says Self-Service Password Reset Enabled.
And you see three options.
Yep. None, selected, and all.
And here is where most people make their first big mistake.
The temptation is to click all, right? Solve the problem for the whole company in one click.
In one click. Let's fix it for everyone right now. But please, do not do that. If you flip that switch to all without a plan, you are going to create chaos.
How so?
Well, users who haven't set up their recovery email are going to get confused, or worse, they'll get locked out in a loop. The source material is very, very clear. You need a rollout strategy.
A crawl, walk, run approach.
Precisely. The recommendation is to start with selected. This lets you pick a specific group of users to test the waters. You want a pilot group.
And the example in our notes suggests using a specific department, like marketing.
Yeah.
Is there a technical reason for that, or?
Not really technical, but think about your user base. Marketing folks are often pretty vocal. They're often on the road or working remotely, and they aren't necessarily deep technical experts like, say, the engineering team.
That makes a lot of sense. If you can make the flow intuitive for the marketing team, it'll probably work for the rest of the organization.
That's the idea. So practically speaking, you go into Entra ID, you create a new security group, the source calls it SSPR testers, and you add maybe 20 users to it.
Oh.
Then, back at the password reset settings, you choose selected, and you point it at that group.
So now the feature is live, but only for those 20 people.
Right. If something breaks, you've only annoyed 20 people, not 2,000. You've contained the blast radius.
Okay, the strategy is set.
Yeah.
Now we have to configure the actual machinery, the gears that make this work. We're clicking on the Authentication Methods tab.
Right.
And this feels like the menu at a restaurant. There are a lot of options here for how a user proves who they are.
This is the core security decision you have to make. You're asking, when someone claims they forgot their password, what proof do I demand before I give them the keys to the castle?
The list is pretty expensive. We've got mobile app notification, mobile app code, email, mobile phone, which is just SMS office phone, and security questions.
And looking at that list, you have a massive policy decision to make right at the top. Do you require one method to reset a password? Or two?
That feels like the classic battle between security and convenience.
It is. If you require two methods, say you need a code from your phone and you have to answer a security question, that is significantly more secure.
Yeah, it's much harder for a hacker to have both your phone and know your childhood best friend's name.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fiction. And if a user's already stressed because they can't log in, adding extra hoops might just make them hate IT.
Okay, so for the simulation we're looking at today, the source material suggests keeping it simple to start.
Yeah, they select one method required and they just choose email.
Just email.
For a pilot, it's fine. It's low friction. But in a high-security environment, relying on just an email, especially if it's a personal email, that can be risky.
Right. If someone hacks your personal Gmail, they could theoretically reset your work password.
In the real world, we'd usually push for the mobile app or at least SMS. But let's stick to the pilot plan. We've chosen email.
Okay, but I have a logical question. If I'm a user and I haven't told Microsoft what my personal email is, how does SSPR help me?
It doesn't. That's the catch. SSPR relies on data. It's not magic. If the system doesn't know where to send the code, you're stuck.
So that brings us to the registration tab.
It does. And you'll see a toggle there. Require users to register when signing in.
And that should almost always be a yes, right?
Almost always yes. This enables what we call interrupt mode.
Interrupt mode, that sounds aggressive.
It is, but it has to be. The next time one of your pilot users logs in successfully, the system stops them. It puts up a wall and says, hey, before you continue, we need some info to keep your account secure. They literally cannot proceed until they enter that recovery email or phone number.
So it forces the issue. You can't procrastinate on security.
Exactly. You tackle the chicken and egg problem by forcing the egg.
Okay, there's another setting here that seems a bit nagging.
Yeah.
Number of days before users are asked to reconfirm their authentication information. The default in the source image is 180 days. Why do we need to bug them every 6 months?
Well, think about it. How often do people change cell phone carriers? Or maybe they delete that old Hotmail account they used to use.
True. That data goes stale.
Right, we call data drift. Yeah. If that happens, then when the crisis hits and you're locked out, the code goes to a dead number. That 180-day prompt is just a gentle nudge.
So it's not a full re-registration?
No, it just pops up and says, hey, is 555-0199 still your number? Most of the time, the user just clicks yes and moves on. But it ensures the life raft is actually inflated.
I like that analogy, keeping the life raft inflated. Okay, next tab. Notifications. This feels like the tattletale section of the config.
It's the watchdog section. You've got two big options here. First, notify users on password resets.
That seems like a no-brainer. Yes.
Absolutely. If I'm sitting at lunch and I get an email on my phone saying, your corporate password was just reset, and I know I didn't do it, I need to hit the panic button immediately.
It's an early warning system.
For sure. And the second toggle is interesting. Notify all admins when other admins reset their password.
Yeah, why do I care if Dave in IT reset his password? Is it just to shame Dave?
Not quite. It's because administrator accounts are high-value targets. They hold the keys to the kingdom.
Ah, so you're looking for a pattern.
Exactly. If a hacker is trying to take over your organization, they're going to target the admins. So if you suddenly see 5 or 6 admin password resets happening in a short window, that's not a coincidence. That's probably an attack.
Okay, one last piece before we take this for a test drive. Customization. The source mentions adding a custom help desk email or URL.
This is your safety net. Because sometimes technology just fails. Maybe the user lost their phone and forgot their email password. SSPR can't help them then.
So you don't want them staring at a dead end.
Right. You can put a link there that says contact support and link it to your ticketing system or an email. It tells the user, okay, the robot couldn't help you. Click here to find a human.
Got it. Okay, so we've built the car, now we need to drive it. And to make this concrete, the source material introduces us to a specific character, a fictional employee named Bala Sandhu.
Bala Sandhu, user principal name, Balas.
I love that we have a persona for this. So we're role-playing. We've set up the policy for our SSPR testers group. We create Bala's account, and we drop him into that group.
And crucially, the notes say Bala is a non-administrative user.
Why does that matter?
It's a huge distinction. Admins play by different rules, which we'll get to. If you test this with your own admin account, you aren't seeing what Bala sees. You need a standard user to verify the standard policy.
Okay, putting on my Bala hat, it's my first day, I log in, and because we turned on require registration, I get that prompt we talked about. More information required.
You click Next. The system asks you to set up your authentication method. Since we chose email for the pilot, you type in your personal email address.
And a code gets sent to that personal inbox.
Yep, you type it back into the work portal, and boom, green check mark. You register. And a quick troubleshooting tip from the trenches here. The source mentions that sometimes cloud propagation can be a little slow. If Bala gets a message saying the administrator has not enabled this feature, don't panic.
Just wait.
Wait a few minutes, or, and this is a pro tip, open an incognito or private browser window. Sometimes the browser caches old policy data. A fresh session often forces the update.
That's a good tip. Okay, Bala is set up. Time fast forwards, it's 2 weeks later. Bala comes back from vacation. He's relaxed, he's happy, he sits down at his desk, and his mind is completely blank.
The vacation wipe. It's real.
He has absolutely no idea what his password is. He's locked out. This is the moment of truth.
This is where SSPR shines.
So instead of calling the help desk, he sees the link, can't access your account, he clicks it, or he goes directly to aka.msspr.
Right, aka.ms/spr, that's the crisis URL. The setup one was spread up.
He lands on the page. Step 1, enter user ID. He types balas@company.com. Step 2, the chief EPCHA.
Ugh, everyone's favorite visual puzzle.
Yeah, that classic slightly scrambled block of text. Enter the characters in the picture. What? It just feels like we're punishing the user when they're already stressed.
I know it's annoying, but it's so critical. It's not there to punish Bala. It's there to stop bots. Without that CAPI-TCHA, a hacker could write a script to trigger password resets for every single user in your company, thousands of times a minute. It's a speed bump to prove there's a human driving.
Okay, Bala squints, types in X4G9, and hits enter. He passes. Step 3, verification.
The system says, okay, we know you're human, now prove you're Bala. And it shows the option he set up. Email my alternate email.
He clicks it. He grabs his phone, opens his personal Gmail, sees the code from Microsoft. He types that code into the SSPR page.
And if the code matches, the gates open.
He gets the screen, enter new password. He types a new one, confirms it, and he's back in.
Go.
No ticket created, no admin interrupted. He's back to work in 2 minutes.
It's a beautiful thing when it works.
But there's one more layer to this that we haven't touched on, and it might be the most important part for user adoption. The psychology of trust.
Right. If I'm Bala and I click that reset password link and I land on a page that looks generic, just the standard Microsoft gray and blue, I might hesitate.
We spend all year training employees not to enter their credentials into strange websites. A generic login page looks suspiciously like a phishing page.
Exactly. My internal alarm bells should be ringing.
So this is where company branding comes in. The documentation shows us how to skin these pages.
It's not just vanity, it's security confirmation. If Bala sees his company logo and a background image of his actual office building, his anxiety just drops. He knows he's in the right place.
But the source material gets surprisingly specific about the requirements here. You can't just upload any high-res photo from your marketing drive.
No, the pixel police come out here. For the background image, that big visual that fills the screen, it has to be 1920 by 1080 pixels, standard HD. But the file size has to be under 300 kilobytes.
300 kBA, that is tiny. A standard photo on my phone is like 4 megabytes.
You have to compress the life out of it. And there's a practical reason. Think about where users are when they need to reset passwords. They might be on a train, on a terrible 3G connection.
Right. If you put a 10 megabyte art piece on that login page, it's just going to hang. It won't load.
It has to be lightweight and fast.
And the logo requirements are even tighter.
Oh, the logo is microscopic. 32 by 32 pixels. And the max file size is 5 kilobytes.
5 kilobytes? That's barely anything.
It's basically for the favicon or a tiny header icon. If you try to upload your glorious high-res vector logo, Entra ID will just reject it. You have to print your assets.
So we upload our compressed background, our tiny logo. We hit save. Now when Bala goes to login.microsoft.com, he sees the office, he sees the logo, he feels safe.
And that small visual cue can drastically reduce the number of, is this real, calls to the help desk.
So we've successfully run the pilot. Bala is happy, but we are responsible admins. We created a test environment. We can't just leave it there.
Rule number 1 of cloud management: clean up your mess. If you leave test accounts and test groups floating around, they become security vulnerabilities. Zombie accounts that nobody is monitoring.
So the source walks us through the cleanup. Delete the user Bala Sandhu.
Yep. delete the SSPR testers group.
And if you aren't ready to go live to the whole company yet, switch that SSPR setting back from selected to none.
Right. And there's a note about the tenant itself. If you spun up a special trial tenant just for this deep dive,
Ah, okay.
you can delete the entire tenant 30 days after the trial expires. Don't leave your digital DNA floating around if you don't need it.
So we've covered the technical setup, the user experience, the branding, and the cleanup. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to that one comment you made earlier. You said admins are different.
Yes, this is the gotcha that catches a lot of people off guard.
We spent this whole episode talking about how we can make it easy for Bala to reset his password with just one email. But if I am the admin, can I do that?
No. Microsoft Entra has a baseline policy. If you hold an administrator role, you are always enabled for SSPR. You can't turn it off for yourself.
Okay.
And, crucially, you are usually required to use 2 authentication methods to reset your password.
So even if I set the policy to one method for the marketing team, the system ignores that for me because I'm an admin.
Correct. The system basically says you have the keys to the kingdom. Your convenience does not matter. Your security matters.
That is a fascinating distinction. It forces a higher standard on the people with the most power.
And it raises a difficult question for organizations. At what point does a power user become important enough to be treated like an admin? Should your CEO be allowed to reset their password with just a personal email? Or should they be held to the same standard as the admins?
That's the friction debate again. Trying to tell the CEO they need to jump through 2 hoops might be a tough conversation.
It is. But SSPR gives you the tools to draw that line. You just have to decide where the line is.
Well, on that note of heavy responsibility, I think we've unpacked the whole box. SSPR is a powerful tool to kill the Monday morning login blues, but it requires a bit of strategy to get right.
Absolutely. Start small, brand it for trust, and always remember the admin exception.
Here is your homework, listeners. The next time you sign into your work account, take a second to really look at the screen. Is it the generic Microsoft Blue Ocean? Or is it your office dicting?
And if it's generic,
You might want to find out who your authentication policy admin is and send them a link to this deep dive.
and check your own recovery info while you're at it. Make sure that phone number isn't from 3 years ago.
Definitely. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.